All right, so good evening, everyone. Jose J. Garcia, real estate investor, coach, and mentor. Sunday coaching series continues. It ain't going anywhere. I love doing these. Probably one of my favorites. It's the start of the week. I feel like it sets us up right, and then we have Wednesday, which kicks us off again, and then Saturday, and of course Tuesday. Don't forget the Let's Do Deals. That's where we push deals, but all day, every day. My goal is to be live on social media all week long, so we're working up to that. We'll see how that checks out. Takes a lot of time, that's for sure. And that goes really hand on hand with branding, marketing, and advertising. I asked an investor is, why do you not brand yourself more? Well, why are you not marketing as much? And the excuse came. That's what I'm going to call it. His excuse is, I don't have enough time. Okay, you don't have enough time. So the biggest issue that you're having is you're not getting leads, you're not getting mobile home deals, et cetera, and all which comes through the branding, the marketing, and the advertising, but you don't have time for it. Interesting, right? And I think we see a lot of that is, when it comes to mobile home investing and really anything successful, anything we want out of life that'll better us, we don't make the time. We don't make the time. We don't prioritize accordingly. And then we just sit there and try to wing it and hope that somehow miraculously it works out. It does not, by the way. It does not. And I can tell you that I've done it myself starting off. I'll do just a little bit of this, just a little bit of that. And, one of my coach mentors put it this way a long time ago. He said, Jay, think about it this way. You have a whole farm. I don't farm, but you have a whole farm, and you go out there and you sprinkle just a few little seeds in one spot. But your thoughts and mentality are making you think that you're going to come back the next day and see an entire field full of blossom. It doesn't work that way. You have to put the initial work in. Nothing works unless you do. And it really strikes with everything that we do. And let me talk about the Saturday that we had the level up. Great event, definitely. I was very pleased. We had an investor partner, Mr. Robert, who actually hosted his home. I was not aware that he actually stopped the rehab so that we could come in. Definitely was very grateful, thankful to him for that. We'll make it up to him for sure. We'll find him a deal. We'll do something to make it up to him. But what happened was he is about, I would say about a third into, give or take, a third, maybe a fourth into the rehab. I mean, they've done some of the major work needs to be done there at the home at this time, but it's a lot more that needs to be done. So, it's very generous of him to be able to stop that rehab and let us come on in and do the level up, be able to come in and coach and train and teach people. Obviously, the topic for that was closings and documents. And of course, big difference in, and we kept kind of comparing this a little bit on all education purposes, but the majority of what we invest in is mobile homes inside of communities, mobile home parks, which all in all, it's a car, it's a vehicle, it's a VIN, okay? It's personal property. When it comes to an investment like what he's doing, it includes land. And I mean, he's taken it many, many levels ahead, which he has done phenomenal. He's done great on what he's doing. But I mean, his mobile homes are now part of land. They're part of real estate. And what's even one more step further is he's not going through some of these hard money, private money. We talked about all the above, but he's going through true traditional lending, which is huge. Think about being able to have traditional lending. We always talk about how I want to invest in this and I want to sell it at this and exit strategy that, but I really want to go ahead and flip it so that I can have money. That's obviously key. Always key to get money so that you can keep on investing. You keep on multiplying. Some of you thinking about landlords and you think all I want to do is landlordship, just continue paychecks. That's great, but you will run out of money in a positive way, in a sense, because you'll have so much money out, but so little coming in at one time. It'll take you time to build all that back up to keep going. So if you can get all cash at one time or two, or however it is that you're working it through, that benefits you to continue to keep on going. So when you have somebody like traditional lending, banks, FHAs, I mean, that opens the fields for you. But again, it's a lot of guidelines to go, and a lot of that he covered, a lot of that. One thing for sure is, we never stop learning. Some of my mentees, some of my investors, they said, well, Jay, you know everything there is to know about mobile investing. I know a lot that there is to be learning, but we're always learning something new. And do not forget that every year, they change rules, they change regulations when it comes to mobile homes. So it's not many times even just learning something new as it is to always keeping up with what's the newest of. One of the issues we had earlier this year was when we had an eviction, it turned into a whole court case. I mean, attorneys and lawyers. And why? Because that county had changed a few stipulations as to how you could write your paperwork up. So when we came in and we did it, now obviously it was pre-hand, no, grandfathered in, did not happen. It was the new rules, the new regulations. You should have come in and revised your agreements as what we were told. And it was just a stretch. It was a stretch of, we ended up getting the home back, not in the best of a condition, which that kind of typically happens, but it was longer and a lot more aggressive than it should have been. But again, a lot of that's always keeping up with the trends and always learning something new. Always. I learned a couple new things from some of the people that were joining there. But in getting to nothing works unless you do. 56 people signed up. Now the level up is a very short time frame. I mean, we make them anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. This specific one here was 2 hours, and part of that was, as Mr. Robert mentioned, I do need a home. There's a few things we're doing, so it kind of made sense when he said my guys aren't working. That's probably what he was ready to bring the guys in. But 25 people want to say showed up to that. I think that's what the count was. I have not even seen my reports, my sheets. We'll be messaging everybody accordingly. That's great. That's great. When I was getting into my education and going through my coaching, it was typically always a seminar, a webinar, 3-4 days. It was always 3-4 days, usually Wednesday through Saturday or even Sunday sometimes. And it never failed how, and they called it out. I hope you realize by day number 2, it'll be less crowded. By day number 3, it'll be even less. By day number 4, basically sit anywhere you want. It never failed. It seemed like people lose interest, people don't put the focus, and people don't want to do the work. They want a better tomorrow, but when it comes to doing the work, I just don't have time for it. And we're back to square one. And it's many times when you think of the above, I want to create passive income. I want to create generating income. And for some of you, it may be replacing your income right now. You have a salary job. Some of these investors that are coming in and they have day jobs, and I hear it, and it reminds me of, well, I can't attend your event because I have to work. I can't get off work this way. I understand it. I do. But at one point, another coach mentioned to me is like, keep your day job as long as you need. If your day job is providing income, be grateful for it, but do your investments. Do your investments in as much as you can. But whenever your job starts taking away the ability of you creating more passive income, it's time for you to let it go. It took me longer than it should have because stubbornness, like everybody else. You have that leap of faith. Now, in my case, I'd been doing it many long ago at that point where I could have really ventured off with ease. But it was always that little fear of just what if, or what if, or what if. It took COVID to come in and out for me to get rid of it and say I'm never going back. From that point on, it just scaled up and scaled up. Why? Because the 40, 50, even 60 hours a week that I was putting to corporate America, gratefully, I was able to then turn it into my investment. And when I did so, it just like, there's another deal. There's another deal there. And within weeks, I realized I am triple, quadrupling and more what I was making there. What security was I referring to? Look, if you're not ready, you're not ready. I'm not here to pursue anybody to overrush. I also don't want to hear this. I've heard this, hey, I quit my day job yesterday and I'm ready to start investing. Well, you don't have any income at this point, so that could be an issue as well. So I hope you have some reserves, but be ready, be mindful, and just jump. At one point, you got to take that action. But when you have opportunities out there for you to get better, for you to create something of yourself, you have to take action. Nobody slows you down but you. When it comes to ball fields, when it comes to concerts, and I mentioned this Saturday, these things are booming and overfilled. Somebody was mentioned to me, I wasn't able to get a ticket to this one show coming to Atlanta because it booked so quickly. That's fine and all, but what are you doing to better your tomorrow? So with all, hand in hand, right? But all right, the level up was great, definitely. Great level up. That's something that we will be doing every month. And like I told y'all, it is going to be nationwide. Some of y'all waiting for me to come around the corner for y'all to join. It might not be a bad idea, actually, because I will be traveling quite a bit. So, I say take action now, but I know we have scheduled to be in New York City very soon. We have scheduled to be in Ohio. We are scheduled to be in Ohio and Cincinnati. I know at one point we have actually 20 mobile homes we're going to be checking out there. So quite a connection we're building on as well. But, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things are being moved. And all in all is we're always trying to add value anywhere we can. If for some of you that are getting started, I know it may seem harder than it is. I say join as many RIAs, join as much meetups, and join as much education as you can to get ahead. That's what you got to do. But let's go ahead and start with the topic for tonight. I know Sundays are short. I'd love to sit here and talk to y'all for hours can be. Don't forget, at the end of it, I'm going to be talking about the shadow. The shadow event is coming up, so I definitely want to talk about that as well. October 1st, October 2nd. So, but tonight, let's see. Screening tenants and buyers. That's huge. That's a huge one there for sure. And I can tell you from talking to some of these new investors who get in a hurry, you're dealing with the problem that I mentioned early on. So let's talk about some of those. How do you screen a tenant? How do you screen a buyer? When you are investing in a mobile home community park, you are not just abiding by your rule and regulations. Every community, every park has rule regulations of their own. That yes, you, starting with you as an investor, and your tenants, and your residents, and your buyers, everybody follows and agrees to by the rule and regulations that are in place. I'm not exempt, nobody is. And that's one of the respects that when we come into mobile home parks is we try to obviously immediately implement the above. Every park may be a little different for the majority that we see. They're pretty equal. I mean, some have a little more strict stipulations. Some have more harder guidelines, I would say. Some other communities that we're seeing even have no pets, for instance. So, you're starting to see a lot of, little shifts that are happening in there. But again, before you do start investing in any community park, always ask for the rural regulations. I want to invest in your park. Is there any availability? Yes, this is for sale. I can take it for this, etc. Go ahead and send me a copy of your rule and regulations and check that out. Some of the rule regulations that you see on there, maybe you pass them with flying colors, but what about your residents? What about your buyers? Because something as simple as, I say simple to me, I don't have pets, but no pets allowed. Is that going to be a make or break deal for somebody who's trying to buy from you or somebody who's trying to rent? Some of these people that I rent to, they're not moving in without their pet. I've been told I'm not going anywhere without my dog. So, if you can't rent to me and my dog, then we're not going to come in. We're happy to pay a deposit on the dog, but he or she will be living with me. So, again, those would be kind of things that you kind of have to keep in mind. But those are only a few at the beginning. That is something that bottom line everybody abides by. We have a little slight gray area when it comes to our rule and regulations, just depends on what it is. But when it comes to screening, it's pretty cut dry. Okay. When it comes to screening, and I want to do a background on somebody's criminal, somebody's, and when I say criminal, we are not nitpicking anything that we see that, should not be there. That's not what we're doing. We also don't share details with anybody. But when we talk about criminal, we are talking more some strong part of felonies after felonies. And you see some, sex offenders, for instance. And again, keep in mind that some of that is rule regulations with the community. One thing I figured out is that when a community does a background, and most of them do on their system, when they do a background and they come back to you and say they didn't pass for whatever reason, and I know they can't share details, they'll share them with the actual applicant, but they say they didn't pass, you're almost in a way needing to agree with that. You don't need to disagree and push to, well, this is why I want to move them in, this is why this is why that. If they failed the system that is in place, there's probably a reason. So don't push for that. And we've made the mistake of that, of trying to fight for somebody. They just seemed like very good people. They were nice. They were in need. They this, they that. And guess what? 3-4 months down the road, man, should I've listened to the park. Live and learn, right? And a lot of parks, it's not really going to matter whether you fight or not anyway. If they don't pass, they don't pass. It's as simple as that. Guidelines, that's what it is. But that's what they're looking for when it comes to criminal. It's, something like a sex offender. If it's a family community park, there's kids around, okay, that's not going to happen. If there's multiple felonies, it's not going to happen. If it's a felony and it's 20 years old, example, if it's a couple misdemeanors and it's 10, 15 years old, does that matter? Probably not. Those kind of things, that's when we start seeing that most communities after 3 years, after 5 years, after 7 years, again, you see why I'm saying you need to go to these communities and ask, what are your rule and regulations to something like this, and run it by them. And this is something that you need to know. And again, if something is too strict for you, don't invest in a park. As simple as that. Okay. We use two systems. Most of the communities that we invest in, they do all the backgrounds. They don't care for us to do any of them. And bottom line, everybody goes through that. If it's a community, because we do have some partner owners that we do, especially here in Central Georgia, where they basically allow us to do the background screening for them, but we have to share details with them. They do a second review, and then they come back with a yay or nay, yes or no, right? So when we do something like that, it helps us out in a way because we're able to speed it up a little bit more. We don't have as much work as what they do. You got to understand, some of these communities, they have 500-600 homes in their community, and there's always somebody applying. A lot of these park managers also may manage a park down the street, a park next state. So it's not just one thing they're catering to, they're not just taking their time, if you will, but it is an issue that sometimes it takes longer than it should. We have a community down in Central Georgia. It's probably close to 2 weeks before we get a background every time. It does not matter when they submit, 2 weeks guaranteed. What happens with something like that is a lot of times we have a resident, a buyer, or a tenant to be, and they see that it's just taking another week. and it's taking another day. They say, you know what, I'm not interested, or I found something else. We've had that issue where somebody finds something else and then you kind of just stuck with, oh, you did kind of get approved, but now you found something else and I'm back to square one. So that could be an issue as well. Okay. But again, it kind of goes to it is what it is on that sense there. If they allow you to do your own backgrounds, be very thorough. We're going to go into some of these steps here and what you need to be paying attention to, but be very thorough. One of the issues that I see a lot of investors make is they get in a hurry. You can get in a hurry in a lot of things, rehab, material, when it comes to the rehab the mobile home and even getting a deal or selling the deal, but not when it comes to doing a background screening on a resident or a buyer. That is a person or that is the family that you're going to have to deal with months to come. And like I mentioned earlier, 4 months later, after I was told don't rent to these certain people, their background is this, I decided to do so anyway, and there I was stuck, and now it's eviction time. Okay, it all starts with the beginning. What it appears is typically what it is. Again, I'm going to walk through a few, but a couple systems that we use: rentprep.com, rentprep.com. And I'm not saying rent prep. That's just the system that we use. I think somebody said that one of the realtor, I think, actually has a system you can use as well. And I know there's a few out there. So, it doesn't matter. Whatever system you use, if it checks out, if it works, if it pulls clear current data, if that's what you need, then that's fine. We just like rent prep. It is very quickly. We've already used that system. That system was actually suggested to us by a park many years ago, that that's what they use. They didn't have something in-house. So that's the system they went to. If we put in an application today, by tomorrow morning, it is there, incomplete. So it is very quickly the process, and it allows us to get to these tenants and these backgrounds a lot quicker, which helps us out again. Keep somebody from changing their mind. But check with the park owners, check with the park owners, check with the park managers. If they allow that, then it's a golden, go for it. Okay. That takes nothing more than them filling out a sheet, which you can get directly from. But it is a typical traditional, the first name, last name, the current address, their social security. I think there's a couple of little questions there you submit. Typically would pay for the most expensive one, which is around $40. And again, it's quickly. So, that's just part of it. Somebody asked many times, I'm tired of paying for these backgrounds. You ever charge your residents to be for the background? Every time. Where do you go to do a background and somebody pays for that for you? That's a bonus maybe somewhere. And I don't know who does that. But absolutely, like anything else, if you are going to apply for an apartment or a house or a mobile home, you're doing a background, that's your background. You get to pay for that. Now, if you don't pass it, then that's on you, but the actual results are relevant to who pays for that. So just something to toss on there. Police department. Police departments, I'm not a fan as much. They do okay on it. I think that they could do a better report. I'm not tossing police department under the bridge by any means, but the police department is very quickly as well. Typically, you have to go to the local county where you are doing it and ask for a renter's background. If they don't know what you're asking for, or your resident to be your tenant, tell them to ask for an apartment renter's background. That is typically the same thing that an apartment would ask for, or any housing that, if they rent to tenants, and it's nothing more than them pulling a background thorough, but ask them to also put their credit. Okay, now the credit is something we'll talk about here in a few minutes, but it's something that also has to be on there so that we can see what we're working with and who we're dealing with in a sense. Reminder, these are the people that are going to be living in your home. The investors that make the mistake of letting somebody rush in is because, one, they are tired of dealing with the home is still vacant, or there's another lot rent. So what? If there's another lot rent, I would much rather pay another couple lot rents than have to deal with somebody like what I mentioned earlier of this resident that took us months to get rid of. We finally got rid of them. We still pay the lot rent, and now the house is a disaster. And all why? Because of paperwork or something that we rushed through or wasn't correctly. Things happen. Don't rush the process. Bottom line. Okay. Let's see. A few people are joining us on Instagram. Good evening, Instagram. Good evening. Good evening. If you're just joining us now, we will be sharing this video here on our social media. GarciaMHU.com. You can click on any of the social media, but YouTube, that's where it is. So let's see. Let me see what else I got. Any questions, y'all can drop them on the comments as well. Zoom, you can just unmute yourself. Backgrounds. Yes. So yeah, it's definitely, if you can do a background and a park allows to, you're saving up time. A park manager does not need to do or want to do anything more than they need to do. They got their hands tied up. They're busy as is. If it is allowed, do it and make that one less process they have to do. But again, I'm going to repeat it. Don't fight with what they decide on, yes or no. Okay. If they point out something, I will probably go with it. So, yeah. Okay. Let me get into the credit real quick. When it comes to the credit scores and, the stuff that they can have on it, may I remind you, we are dealing with a clientele that is seeking affordability housing. It's a clientele, right? Affordability housing. When we say we will sell or we will rent to somebody with poor or no credit, we mean that for the reason they may have low credit because they have no credit, or because they have bad, a couple people spinning here a little, man, or because they have a couple collections maybe that can be dropping the score as well, or maybe the doctor bills or whatever it may be. These are things we're paying attention to. I don't care as much for the credit score because I have yet to see something that is astounding when it comes to, when it comes to our clientele, which, again, take that lightly, but 450, 500, 550, maybe 600, that's fine. What I am paying attention to is that they don't have an excessive amount of collections. Rule of thumb, if you look at somebody's criminal and their credit, and you start seeing on their credit that they have 5 collections, 10 collections, 15 collections, I assure you, you will be number 16 sooner or later. History has a way of repeating itself. That's how I was told many moons ago, and it happens repeatedly. Okay. People, little man, Zoom. All right. A couple people are spinning on Zoom. I give up on Zoom. Zoom is awesome, but it spins, it circles, it doesn't let people in, it kicks me out. Things happen, right? So, be easy when it comes to the credit score, but also, again, keep in mind that the park itself may need a credit score number. So if that's the case, again, abide by, but explain. One of the lowest scores that I've seen in the past had to do not because it was collections, but it was a younger couple who refused to get any credit cards. They didn't believe in credit. That's how they were raised. So I was told they didn't care. I mean, everything was cash to them if they could do it. So, and that was fine and all, but I was glad to see that there was, it was empty. There was nothing to be there. So we obviously approved them. Excellent tenants, by the way. But to this day, I think they still continue to pay with a money order. No credit cards, no financing, none of the above. That's how they like to live. So, awesome. Also, feel like a mobile home parks. Yeah, we're looking for some parks at this point. So, but that's how we typically, we pay attention to the credit. The credit can be something that can be taken lightly, but definitely keep in mind and pay attention to the above. So let's see. Some of the worst tenants, somebody was asking on this, what are the tenants that you would not approve based on not their credit or their criminal? You can't discriminate. You cannot discriminate when it comes to any of the above. And I don't want to get too much venture into the whole race, the age, the above. You can't discriminate. Okay. If they check out, everything is in place, and, you treat everybody accordingly, everybody equally. And if everything is done accordingly, then you rent it or sell to anybody. That's the way that it works. But some of the tenants that, and this came from park owners that I didn't listen to, okay? Jay, if somebody comes to you and they say, I need a home to move into immediately, today, I don't care what it looks like, if it's even livable, I'm living in my car or living in a motel or a hotel and been doing so for months, it is killing me. That is very unfortunate. I hate to hear that. And when it includes children, that's horrible, horrific. I hate the above. Okay, I hate to hear that. But the way it was put to me was, if they're living in a car, if they're living in a motel or a hotel and been doing so for a while, there's a reason behind that. Try to find out what their previous, however long that may be, who the previous landlord was, and try to get some type of feedback on the above. When we've ever done that, and I made a mistake, unfortunately, I want to call it that, made a mistake of renting. I was in a hurry. They were in a hurry. They needed something. I feel bad. I let emotions take place instead of it treating it like a business. And it came back to bite me hard, very, very hard on the above. And it did not take long. So, one of the guidelines, stipulations, rule, regulations, look, everybody gets treated accordingly, equally, but there are some stipulations that you have to meet, period. One, if you don't have a correct down payment, X amount of down payment. If you don't have the deposit, anywhere else, think about it from the other position. If it was you coming into an apartment, a house, a mobile home, and they said, all right, well, we need $1,500 for this because this is the first deposit and the first payment, or whichever way it is. And you say, well, I don't have $1,500. Are you willing to work with me? I have $500. Do you think they'll turn around and say, absolutely, come on in here and you can just pay us weekly and however long it takes you, and then we'll catch you up and we'll just keep moving forward? No, it's not how it works. Okay. And much like a vehicle, buy here, pay here kind of thing. There's a deposit, there's a down payment for a reason. That's part of the immediate guidelines. If somebody's coming to you with something like that and immediately asking for some type of favors, some type of, they have all the excuses too, you're off to a bad start. You want to help people, no doubt. Let's be human at the end of the day. But if they're coming to you with something with stories and excuses and all the above, there is a reason. And those stories have been told over and over. And if you find somebody, their previous landlord, you know what I'm talking about. I've connected with a couple that came that way. And they said, never, I would never rent to this person again. We take it with a grain of salt. Okay, we just need a little bit of feedback. Clearly not a fan of, and it didn't turn out well. So that's something that we can use. And, it is unfortunate, but, for y'all, heads up. Don't rush the process. Don't try to be over exceptional too, and don't work out of emotions. All right. That's what I have to say to the above about the whole screening resident, tenants, buyers. And at the end of the day, make sure that you abide by the rules and regulations by the community. You have a relationship, a business relationship with them. You also have to abide by. That's not something that you want to burn up because trying to let a tenant. I've seen investors do the above. They so strongly want to make a sale just to get out of it or make that one more sale, and they end up ruining the relationship with the park, and there goes your ability to invest. I'll always think of the above. Okay. Wednesday, I'm sitting here looking at go ahead and toss this out there. Wednesday is funding. That's one thing we talked about Saturday a lot. We're talking about private money, hard money. A lot of people kept asking about the hard money and private money. So something that Robert and myself, we touched in quite a bit, but the coaching call for Wednesday this evening, it is back to members only. So if you want to join that call, visit GarciaMHE.com, hit the subscription and sign up for that. But funding options for mobile homes, that's going to be huge. Quick tip on that. Most of my funding comes from my credit cards, by the way. Hard money, private money, they're great. They've been there. They've been a great source, but I prefer PayPal and credit cards. Can it be done? Go through my YouTube and you will see an entire coaching where I set it up step by step, how to set up your credit cards and how to use PayPal. And I use PayPal for all the above. So stay tuned for that call. That'll be a great call on there as well. Let's see. Saturday. Oh, and the hard money. Yes, for the person that asked earlier. Not begging, but asking for money. When I got started investing in mobile homes, I very much felt that. I felt like if I went to somebody, I had to beg for money. And it was a wrong approach that it took me a long time for a coach to come in and say, you're not begging anything. You're not even asking. That's the other way around. They should be asking you, because what you are offering is opportunities. If you have mobile homes to invest in and you have great ROIs, return on your investments to collect, somebody out there, if it's a great deal, there's always going to be a lender. And they'll be happy that you chose them. That put a whole different mix to it. So, for those of you out there wondering, how can I invest in this? I don't want to borrow money from somebody. You're not borrowing anything. You're giving opportunities. But definitely treat everybody else's money like it's your money, and even then some. All right. Let me talk about the shadow real quick, and I'll take a couple questions if there are any. I'm seeing quite a bit more people joining us on Instagram. So good evening and welcome. This Saturday coming up, like as I've been mentioning for a while, the shadow event, October 1st, October 2nd, it is here. I can't wait. I'm going to go down there half week. We're going to be setting up. We're going to be doing some more networking, meeting with a few park owners, meeting with the speakers, prepping up for everything. Come Saturday morning, 9 a.m. we go live. That is all day classroom setting on first day. We're going to be talking about every step of mobile home investing. That of which you see here, this is a taste and appetizer to what we'll be covering there. That's when we'll open the floors and tell you step by step how I invest in mobile homes. From leads to making offers, to hiring contractors, to making closings, exit strategies, opportunities, moving mobile homes, talking to park owners, the list goes on. We have 4 speakers that are going to be there. Some are going to be there earlier than I will. That's okay. We'll connect when we get there. They're going to be talking about LLCs, corporations, cash flow. Who doesn't like cash flow? Bill, the king of cash flow. He'll be talking about that. And he's not just talking about mobile homes. Opportunities. We got my first coach and mentor talking about some of this PayPal, some of these ways to get creative financing. Start investing with no money out of your pocket. That is huge. Our insurance agent in-house who covers mobile homes policies, different from whether it's being rehab, as a landlord, post-sale, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, that's something that you all should have, is protection on your asset. No excuse, no option, right? So a lot of topics are going to be covered. That's day number 1. Day number 2 caters to number 1. That's where we get a shuttle, picks us up and takes us out to communities. Now it's time for you to stop learning behind a screen, behind a computer, and reading is fine and all. But why don't I take you out to the field? Let me show you what it looks like to be inside of a mobile home, actually be in rehab. We'll have handyman contractors with us that day. We'll have park owners, park managers. One of the biggest, most feared questions for a lot of you new investors is, what do I say to a park manager? What do I ask? Talk to them. You're going to see us talk to them. We're going to do a lot of rehearsals as well. May even call some park owners on the spot, some contractors. You'll get to see all the above. So that's a real true experience to come out there on day number 2, which is Sunday, and see step by step how we invest. We'll see some mobile homes that are distressed, some that will be in rehab, and some that are ready for the market, along with grading mobile home parks. A lot of stuff covers. This is our first 2-day shadow. Up until now, it's always been a day 1. Day 1 has been great, but it's very action-packed, very quick-paced. We're going to slow things down a little bit more, and we're adding a lot more value. The goal for this is always to add as many tips, as much education as I can to you. I want to make this simple. At the end of the day, let's make it as simple as we can, set you up for as much success as we can. All right. Let me see if any other questions. That's all I got for tonight. It's 8:30. I have a coaching following right after this call, so I don't see any of the above. If any of you want to sign up, there is only minimal. I want to say 4 seats remaining for the shadow. That's for Saturday morning. It is in Central Georgia, Warner Robins, Georgia. Saturday and Sunday, we got rooms booked for that as well. You can come and join us there. But Garcia, MHE.com, Garcia, MHLive.com. Either or works out the same. All right, everyone. I don't see any other questions, so that is going to do it for me tonight. Thank you for watching.